All right, well, let's move on then to this issue with Farage and Milkshake, because organisers at an LGBTQ plus Pride event have been criticised for inciting violence after revellers were invited to play a game of toss a milkshake over Nigel Farage.
Yeah, well, look, you know, I thought we were just getting to the hashtag Be Kind era again, where we were going to put this incitement to violence against politicians behind us. And we saw that, you know, Nigel Farage was pelted not just with milkshakes during the election, but with other things by members of the public as well, people quite probably on the far left. And this sort of stuff just stokes violence, doesn't it? And you know, just the Trump assassination was 2 weeks ago. It was just fresh in all of our minds. The hilarious thing about all of this is you've got, Stand Up Against Racism claimed it was harmless fun.
But
I mean,
it is.
But it isn't, because you're inspiring people to do this.
In the same way, do you remember at village fairs or school fairs where you put your teacher in the stocks and throw sponges at them? That's all this is. If you see it, it's just a little cardboard cutout and you can throw the milkshake at Farage.
Okay, but
it isn't inciting violence. It's throwing a milkshake.
It's not quite out of. It's not quite. There's a context to this. Somebody did throw a milkshake.
They did.
Joe Brand, many years ago on BBC Radio 2, made a comment about battery acid. So that's throwing a substance over a politician. And so I don't see how you could think that was harmless.
Well, it was just a milkshake.
No, but that was fortunate. It was a milkshake.
Of
remember,
course, but
somebody
that's a
was joking about
new
throwing
issue,
battery
isn't
acid.
it? The girl. Yeah, but those two things are not related.
They're not. They are related because
the woman who threw the milkshake at Trump just threw a milkshake at Trump. Like, we don't need to conflate it with all these other things. I understand it could have been acid. I understand it could have been a bullet.
Exactly.
But you could say that about absolutely anything.
Well, not really. No.
Well, you could. Every time you get served lunch, it could be arsenic.
No,
like it's not.
This is about the actual principle is throwing a substance over a politician. When somebody's talked about throwing battery acid, and then somebody recently then throws milkshake, which could have been anything, I can't imagine that you would even endorse that.
I'm not really endorsing that, but I am endorsing this game at this LGBT Pride event. No, it's not. It's absolutely no difference. It's throwing tomatoes. It's a bit of fun.
I mean,
it's
the problem
sponges.
is, you say, oh, it's only a milkshake, and then the next person with a slightly different perspective will say, well, it's only an egg. It's only an egg to the face. And then someone else will say, well, it's only a fist to the chin. It's fine.
Do you remember when was it John Prescott who got egged and then promptly dealt with it? Like, how many times a week do we watch that on YouTube? Come on,
he was
this
egged
is
first. He was attacked first. I mean, I defend the right for someone to smack someone back.
What was the time when everyone kept throwing flour
I think the point is that this is aimed at his politics as well. This is aimed at Nigel Farage's politics. And I'll say this: if you were to say, I'm going to put a trans person up on a board, throw milkshakes over that trans person, politically, that's the message they're trying to drive, though.
Of course, it wouldn't be okay.
No, hold on. Why would that not be okay?
Why would that not be okay to characterise all trans person with one symbol and then throw sponges at it? This is Nigel Farage.
But they're attacking Nigel Farage because of his politics and because of who he is and what he stands for. And you could make the same statement about an LGBT plus activist and say the same thing if there was a common person to do that for.
If somebody at a different fair had a cardboard cutout of Tony Blair and was throwing sponges at it, would you have a massive problem with that?
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it.
Sponges?
I don't like it. I don't like any kind of...
What if it was India Willoughby? To Nana's point.
India Willoughby, that's my point.
If it was
India Willoughby,
they're
throwing sponges or milkshake at him. Sorry, her.
I honestly think...
don't woke, Nana.
Well, I don't know which one they want me to say. I said all of them just to make
India
sure.
Willoughby's a bloke.
The first time when I saw this, I did just think of when you put your teacher in the little stocks and throw sponges at them. And I just think that's as deep as it goes. So if India Willoughby wants to step up and do that, then...
Nigel Farage didn't step up. So if there's a cardboard cutout of India Willoughby at an event, say a reform event, not that would ever happen, to be fair, or some sort of event, so I'm using something LGBT, it's not that, it's a different one, that would be OK, would it?
No, of course it wouldn't be OK.
So how is it OK for them to do that to Nigel Farage?
Because Nigel Farage has justified himself to be, in many people's eyes, a villain with his policies.
Well, that's if you agree with them or
puts him up for judgment, and if it's going to be a bit of light ridicule, then so what?
You could say that about India Willoughby, so if she was there...
Not really. She's just living her life and being a person in the world.
No, they're an activist.
What does she do?
They're an activist.
For her own rights.
For trans rights, she's an activist. And Nigel Farage is somebody who steps up for his political views on reform. So let's be honest. So if it was India Willoughby at a different event, that by your logic, that has to be OK.
By my logic, I don't think they're. You can't
I think this is quite an easy debate. I don't think we should be promoting any source of physical attack
it's
against,
not a
against
physical
any
attack. That's my point. It's a joke. It's just a joke.
I don't think it's acceptable to
At a time when ex-presidents are being...
But I do think that Nigel Farage is more of a fair target than someone like India Willoughby. I don't think
How can you say
compare
that?
them. Because he's...
Just because you agree with India's politics?
Not really. I'm sure Nigel Farage wouldn't find it that offensive to have sponges thrown at him in this setting.
I think at the time when his good friend Donald Trump was almost killed by an assassin,
but that's
two
completely
MPs have
different.
been...
How can you compare a gun attack
Amy,
with a sponge?
I've spent a lot of time with Nigel many years ago before he really blew up in 2015 when he was campaigning with the UKIP. The amount of times he had to flee from town halls giving speeches from far-left agitators, having meals with his family and his kids in pubs when far-left agitators have come in.
I don't think it's comparable. I mean, there's an episode of
underestimating.
Mr. Bean where he puts himself in the stocks and gets sponges thrown at him. I'm pretty sure it's really not that deep.
I'm not taking you seriously on that. Listen, thank you very much, Amy Nicole.